right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 788 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And today we're just going to talk a little more of Georgia Southern football. I promise you guys for the next few days I'm going to talk Georgia Southern. And we're going to get into this, I guess you could call it an article or a sit down that Ryan Aplin, did with that's on GeorgiaSouthernEagles.com or GSEagles.com. I'm not necessarily going to go through the whole thing. It is a long sit down article. And I'm just going to pick out two things that I took from it because it's a lot. I mean, and once I realized while I was reading it, I do realize that this Georgia Southern team is absolutely loaded with talent. But there's a couple of things that does make me nervous. And I know, today was the first day of, spring practice. And I saw something that kind of bothered me a little bit as well when I was hearing the news out of there. But not necessarily going to go there. That's the first day. I'm going to leave it there. But I want to talk about our new offensive coordinator, Ryan Aplin. I think this is a phenomenal pickup, a phenomenal choice to make him offensive coordinator, and I think he's going to do well. But he does have some battles ahead of him, so we're going to talk about the plan or a plan that he has based on what I've read here, and we're just going to go from there. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I am also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can still find me on Google Podcasts, but Google Podcasts is going away for YouTube Podcasts. So once that goes away in April, everything's going to be, well, I'm not going to say everything. The listeners that have been listening on Google Podcasts will have to go to YouTube Podcasts. If you want to watch the show, the video of this episode is going to be on Rumble. It's also on Spotify as well. I think you got to do a little bit of tweaking to find it, but I do upload the video version to Spotify as well. I could be found on X at VF Baller. If you want to follow me there, that'd be awesome. And I could be found also on firstandframerates.com. That's the podcast website where you can find the podcast as well. If you want to support the show, CashApp and PayPal links are below. I would definitely appreciate it. And you guys are absolutely awesome for hanging out with me. So let's just get right into this. Go straight to the point. First and foremost, like I said, there's two things. And the main thing, which I would say, because I know everybody likes to talk about the positions of the team, and we'll get to that in a second. But the main thing is he wants this team to play as a unit. That's one of the last things he talked about in the article, wanting to play as a unit, trust the guy next to you, make sure you guys have each other back, make sure that, these guys execute cohesively as a team. That's not necessarily what it said. I'm just basically paraphrasing because, like I said, this is a long article. Don't want to get into all of the article because I'll be here for the next 3 hours if I did. It's a very long article. But nevertheless, he wants these guys to understand with the ups and downs, the ins and outs, what happens throughout the game or throughout the season. These guys continue to play together. And I think that's the biggest thing because, to be quite honest, I felt like the team kind of fell apart after the Georgia State game. I mean, we ended up losing 6 in a row after that, guys. 5 in a row after that. We were 6-2 at the time, ended up finishing the season 6-7. And if we had a little bit of togetherness, and I'm not saying the kids weren't together, but you could tell that a lot of the kids are starting to disconnect a little bit. And I don't think the coaches, and it's, I'm going to be honest, at the end of the day, it's kind of like on the coaches that get these guys together to say, look, 1 or 2 plays could get us a W. We need to make a play. And I don't know, I'm not on the sideline, but it just seems like that, message wasn't resonating. And if it was out there at all, it doesn't feel like it was resonating. So therefore, that you saw the team kind of fall apart at the end of the season. It was kind of disheartening to see because, like I said, just like last year, this team is loaded with talent. He also talks about, and I'm going to go into the position until I get to the last part that I really want to hone in on. He talks about all the talent that we have on this team. I did not realize how absolutely loaded this wide receiver, group is. I mean, from Jet Thompson to Dalen Cobb to Josh Dallas, Marcus Sanders. I almost forgot about Marcus Sanders. Jet Thompson. KD Dorsey. DeAndre Buchanan? I mean, we got some guys on this team that could catch the football. I know we just lost Caleb Hood and we lost JJ McCaffrey, and we didn't talk, and we lost a couple of tight ends as well. But you turn right back, Keaton Upshaw. When you turn back around, you got Tyler Fromm, and I think Bo Johnson's coming back. He talks about all those offensive weapons, and as an offensive coordinator, you got a lot to play with here. So I love what this team has on the docket. Now I know there's going to be a little bit of a backslide, a little bit on the offensive line. I didn't realize, and it just feels like these guys been here forever. But when you look at a guy like Brian Miller, and you have another guy that's not going to be here. I'm looking up and down the article to find out the name because it just lost me. But when you have like a Brian Miller that's leaving, and it kind of hurts the offensive line. I mean, just to be honest, So and another thing, I didn't even talk about Derwin Burgess, another receiver. Like I said, these receivers are absolutely loaded. So when you have these guys that are not going to be here next year, as far as the offensive line go, you got to need some guys to step up. And I'm not sure, where we go right there, but I'm kind of worried. And the reason why I say I'm worried about that, and I don't want to get too far in this because it's only one day. They said, I saw it on Twitter, that it was a lot of batted balls that was coming out of the, off the offensive line. Defensive guys getting their hands up, knocking the ball down during passes. That's kind of concerning, especially when you know the quarterback situation from last year where it was not the best. At least I want to get the ball to the receivers this year. So it's only one day, and I know I don't want to be the guy to really, hone on this, and I'm not trying to. But at the same time, we're like, hey, we need to get the ball to the receivers. We got some big physical receivers out here, some guys who could get the ball, got some speed to them. Let's get the ball to them. So I don't know how the offensive line. Oh, Khalil Crowder, there it is. He was the one that we lost as well. So when you got these guys, and we got some guys coming in that are pretty good as well. So, but we need to know how the offensive line is going to work out. Last but not least, I will talk about is the quarterback situation, because when it came to the quarterback situation, this is one place that Ryan Aplin was not 100% sure about, and it's understandable. I mean, the last 2 years you had, I guess you could say in college, you had veterans come in that were, 5th, 6th year guys that actually played, football throughout their entire career, coming to Georgia Southern, and it was not much that you really need to implement there. This is the first year that is kind of wide open, even with Dexter Williams coming in. Even with him coming in, it's still kind of wide open. There's already some sort of an inkling that he may be QB1, which I understand it, even though I'm on the Colton Fitzgerald bandwagon. I want him to be QB1, but I get it if that's not the case. Some people are still, reaching out and say, hey, JC French need to be the guy. To be honest, there's not really any wrong answer here. You got a lot of talent at the quarterback situation. Some other people still want David Dallas. I get it. I get it. There's no wrong answer here, but when you come to this question, he does not necessarily give you a definitive answer. And I can understand why. It's still early. By the time, the spring game comes, we're probably going to know who's going to be QB1. You're going to see the guys who get the most playing time. Well, the beginning part of playing time, and then you see the other guys get some reps. But mostly what he said here, and this is one thing that I'm going to pretty much quote what he said, because this is a really good quote here. He said, the thing I'm looking for is who, I think they put this in wrong. Let me say that. I said, the thing I'm looking for is who keeps us on track, who keeps us on pace. I think sometimes playing the quarterback position, you get into a drive for a lull and you're like, all right, I got to make the next big play. That's when you get in trouble. The biggest thing, and we will talk about this spring, is getting first downs. I totally agree. So with that being said, we may have a scaled back passing attack. We probably have a little bit more run oriented, because I think Ryan Aplin is not the guy that really want to air the ball out as much as our last OC did. So I'm probably gonna see a little bit more of that. Probably why you saw some batted balls in practice today. But like I said, I don't want to get too far into that. It's only one day. So something good will happen if you continue to get first downs on that drive. So we will talk about taking what they give you, knowing when to take the chance, knowing when not to take the chance. It's awesome. I love to hear that. Knowing the scenarios and being an overall leader. The guy that gives us a chance is a guy that's the most consistent week in and week out. We're not looking for a guy who just throws 2 touchdowns and makes 2 big plays, because if you got 2 picks to follow those plays, that doesn't help us. All right. I want to read that again. Because we know what we're talking about there, but we're not going to go there. We're not looking for a guy who just throws 2 touchdowns and makes 2 big plays just because if you got 2 picks to follow those plays, that doesn't help us. Oh boy. Shout out to number 5, man. Shout out to number 5. You may not always have the best stats, but you're the guy that keeps us on pace. You make the smart decisions. You're not forcing throws. We're staying ahead of the chain, so where you're not constantly fighting an uphill battle. So that's what I'm looking for in that group. I can't say it any better than that. That last paragraph right there, I know I kind of cut it off a little bit, but we all know what we're talking about here. Let's not kid ourselves. We know what that was about, and if that's going to be fixed, if he could fix that, if he could find the guy who doesn't, do what he said there and actually pick up what he's putting down, we're going to be all right. Because at the end of the day, that was the problem for the Georgia Southern Eagles. Nobody really talked about it as much. Shout out to my guys at Gotta Talk. I don't know if they talked about it. I listened to their stuff, but I don't know if they talked about it. I don't know if Talent Talk or any other, creative talked about it. If they did, that's awesome. But we know, we all knew. And I'm pretty sure even Captain Clack, all these guys talked about it at some point. I just don't know the extent. But I'm pretty sure that everybody knew what the problem was last year. And if we can, from that paragraph right there, if we can fix that, we're definitely going to win more than 6 games next year. I definitely believe that we'll win more than 6 games. So that's pretty much it about offensive coordinator Ryan Aplin. I mean, his plan is fairly simple. I'm here for it. I have no issue with it, and based on everything that he put down on this in this article and this sit down, I like what I hear. I just want to see it implemented, and then he understands like there's gonna be some woes here and there, but we're just gonna have to pick it up by the time the season starts. So we'll be here for it, and we'll see how it goes. So if you like the commentary, the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I like what I hear here. I like what I was reading. I like where it's going. So I'll let y'all let me know as well. And if you want to follow me on YouTube or Rumble, subscribe over there. Join me on Rumble. I'm also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can, follow me there as well. Follow me on Twitch. I mean, not Twitch. Man, that's my gaming side, y'all. I do have a gaming channel. That's my gaming side. Follow me on Twitter or X at VF Baller. Website is firstandframerates.com. And you can also use CashApp or PayPal to support the show. Definitely will appreciate it. And I'm gonna get out of here, man. Y'all take it easy, and y'all be blessed. Peace.